everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we have the great pleasure of talking with the extraordinary filmmaker Stanley Nelson. Well, his 12th, although he says, who's counting, groundbreaking documentary, Tell Them We Are Rising, the story of Black colleges and universities, airs on PBS beginning Monday, February 19th. And Stanley, thank you so much for being with us. If you have 12 major documentaries, we've got to put a number to it, right? You said.
I guess so, okay.
Although it's probably, and in the hundreds in terms of lesser groundbreaking things that you've done, right? So talk to us about Black colleges. Your folks went to Black colleges, my folks attended Black colleges. It's in the DNA.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been no more important institution for African Americans than Black colleges. And, you know, I always thought that there was a way to tell this story, to put it together and tell the story of Black colleges. I was surprised when I found out that there had been no film about Black colleges. And so that's what we attempted to do, to try to give people an understanding and a feeling of what Black colleges have meant from the beginning. We start before the Civil War, and in 90 minutes come up to today.
Right, which is an excellent telling of not just the Black colleges, but of Black life and protest, because so many of the students were in the forefront of the civil rights protests, leaving, you know, the classrooms and going out to the lunch counters and getting on the buses and all. Like, many of them came out of Black colleges.
Yeah, I mean, as we got into making the film, I think one of the things we found was that what we were doing was telling American history, but in a different way, through the lens of Black colleges. And one of the central focuses became protest. I mean, that was one of the things that came out of Black colleges, from, you know, Howard and Brown versus Board of Ed and the lawyers from Howard really making that happen, to the sit-in movements, and just so many other things have come out of Black colleges.
Yeah, we always ask our guests to place themselves in Black America, and you're a New York City boy or man,
yeah,
all grown up now, but City College in your family. So welcome home.
Oh, thank you so much.
Talk to us a little bit about your mom, because when I saw her name, you know, Alelia, there are only a few of those in the world.
Right.
So talk to us about the relationship to Madam C.J. Walker.
Right. Well, my mother's father, my grandfather, whose name was F.B. Ransom, was Madam C.J. Walker's attorney and business partner. And he met the story is he met Madam C.J. Walker on a train when he was still in college, and she was talking about these products, and he became her lawyer and then her business partner. And my mother was named after her daughter, Alelia.
Right.
So there's a few Alelias in the world. Alelia Bundles, and I think,
of course,
Alelia,
we know she's a friend.
Right, and my mother, and I think they're all somehow related to the Madam C.J. Walker company.
Right. And she went to Talladega, your mom.
Yeah, she went to Talladega. She and her 5 brothers all went to Talladega. There was like a family thing. They all went to Talladega, a Black college.
Right, and my mother and father went to Tuskegee. My dad was one of the Tuskegee Airmen trainers and whatever, so we're steeped in, you know, in that as well. But you didn't go to a Black college. When I looked at, you went to several colleges.
I went to several colleges. I did go to several colleges. You know, one of the explanations, you know, I graduated high school in 1969, which was not the greatest year to go to college. You know, I think there was a general feeling that the world was being flipped upside down, and that, you know, college was not going to be that needed in this new world. That kind of never really happened. Right. But I did go to Morris Brown College for a term, so I did go to Black college for a term.
And there were 6 or 7 other schools, you know, but it was all in the making of a great filmmaker. 12 documentaries, 6 colleges, it all adds up to great work.
Right, but I did finish at City College.
Yay, okay, great. And your dad, you said he also...
Right, well, my dad and his brother were the first people in his family to graduate high school, and he grew up in Washington, D.C. And the story is, you know, he had gotten out of high school and he was working a dead-end job, and some of his friends came to him and said, you know, hey man, you know, we're going to Howard and you should go to Howard. You know, the registration is next to nothing. You can do the work. They will help you. They will nurture you. and there's a lot of pretty girls. And so my father enrolled at Howard and went through Howard, and then went through Howard Dental School and became a dentist.
Right. One of the foremost, with a lot of great inventions as well, in that, in that area. I want to show a clip from the documentary, and we'll talk about it on the other side. You have the great Kimberly Crenshaw, who's legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw, is one of your experts in the documentary. I think we'll see her in this clip. Let's take a look.
The question for African Americans has always been, what is education's purpose? Who controls it? And what is the relationship of education to the broader aspirations of our people?
The more the system denies you the chance to read and to write, the more that becomes a prize that you must have.
Black colleges were redefining what it meant to be black in America. You were pursuing a career where intellect mattered.
An educated black population could not be an enslaved black population.
If you weren't out there demonstrating, then something had to be wrong with your school.
We wanted freedom now, but whites were not prepared for any changes here.
I think they should be kept out any way possible.
A slaveholder could work a slave to death. He could rape a slave. He could do virtually anything but teach a slave how to read or write.
As soon as the war breaks out, the first thing they want is to get an education.
They wanted those schools to be as free as possible from paternalism, from racism, whether subtle or blatant.
Said you better let my...
Movements are easily birthed on HBCUs campuses.
We must love and protect each other.
We're all going through the same experience.
Said you better let my...
HBCU is somewhere where I can be completely myself.
Let my people go.
The Black college experience provides the place to be in the majority. That is such a unique and empowering experience.
This HBCU experience has taught me that anything is possible as long as you have that one spark.
So just fantastic. We were talking before we started taping about the marching bands that I went to, BU and NYU. No marching bands there, but I did witness it in real life once, and I was just blown away. It's such a key piece to the life on the college campuses.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's really come to me, because I've been traveling around, especially the last month showing the film, is how important black colleges are, not only obviously in educating African Americans, but also in kind of keeping culture alive, their cultural mainstays. As someone said the other day, only at a black college are they serving grits for breakfast, they have fried chicken Thursdays. And so, and the marching bands are part of that. So, not only are they so important in education, but also in terms of culture.
Sure, and the sororities and the fraternities as well that, give life and leadership experience as well. Mm-hmm. So the black colleges have been in the news lately with the new president, who has some dynamic going on there. Right. Talk to us a little bit about what you think that's all about.
Well, I mean, I think that one of the things that Trump really wants and relishes are photo ops. And where can you get some black folks? What did he call them? His black people,
his people,
his black folks,
or his person,
his black person. Where can you get them? At a black college. So, starting with his inauguration with the marching band from Talladega, again my mother's alma mater, on to inviting the presidents to the White House, and so many other events that have happened over the last year of this presidency.
So we have a clip that you did for the New York Times. Let's take a look at this relationship, black colleges in the age of Trump.
In February, Donald Trump invited a group of HBCU presidents to the Oval Office. The college presidents hoped it would be a chance to make their case for funding, so they felt they had to attend, like it or not.
When the White House calls, you go. Whether you agree with the person's politics or not, you go because it could be an opportunity, optimistically. It could be an opportunity to do something very beneficial for your institution. The Black community went berserk. Why are you meeting with him? Why are you doing all of this? 90% of African Americans, 92% didn't vote for President Trump. And here you have this large group of these Black college presidents in the Oval Office with the president.
Hey, so that didn't result in any financial aid, which they greatly, desperately need.
Right. And I mean, I think that they thought that that was going to happen, that they would go there and that, you know, there was a huge chance that financial aid would be given to them. But one of the things we wanted to do in this op-doc, you know, it's a little 12-minute piece, is to say that Black college presidents and administrations are really between a rock and a hard place. I mean, what do? You know, they are dependent on the federal government for money. And, you know, the Black community despises the president in a way that, you know, I mean, George Bush looks great compared to Trump. So what do you do? How do you navigate that reality? So that's what we wanted to talk about in this thing. You know, it's at New York Times OpDoc. You can look at it for free. It's 10 minutes long.
Right. No. And it's
a comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's kind of a comedy. Yeah, it's kind of
funny.
It's
a great jumping off point
kind of
for that whole situation. Do you think that Black colleges are actually going to survive this period? Because we hear about those that are closing down. And students who are, even though the tuition may be much less than it is in other colleges, students who can't afford that.
Right. I think they will. I mean, I think that there are some Black colleges that are having an increase in applications over the last few years. One of the things that's a result of what's happened in this country, which is, you know, the country being more racialized than it was, you know, 2 years ago, is that young African Americans are saying to themselves, very many of them are saying, well, you know, I want to have 4 years where I can just be myself, where I'm not judged every time I go in a room, you know, by the color of my skin. And so some are choosing to go to Black colleges. One of the last chapters in Tell Them We Are Rising is the story of 3 students and 2 are young women who have chosen to go to Black colleges, who could go wherever they wanted. They had gotten into other institutions, but they chose to go to Black colleges for that reason.
Right. And as many young women and men say, you know, they just need a break, right? As you're saying, 4 years where, you know, we don't have to face the discrepancy, you know.
And it might be the only 4 years that you have in your life.
That's true.
You know, you go to most you know, people go to college, African Americans go to college and then get back into the white world, or, you know, and so for many it's this you know, this time of freedom.
Well, I mean, this is an added chapter in your taking really, really deep looks at Black America in the series of 12 great films that you've done. But I want to talk about, most recently, I saw the Black Panther film, which you gave us a completely new take on what that was all about, I think. So let's take we have a clip of that. We'll talk about it on the other side, the Black Panther Party.
Sure.
The Black Panthers. Black Panthers. The Black Panther Party. Black Panther movement.
The Black Panthers were absolutely unique.
Being Black in America meant that you didn't walk down the street with the same sense of safety and a sense of privilege as a white person. Attack dogs, fire hoses.
Police jump on you, beat you up, put the gun at your head. This is what we were going through on a daily basis.
We stand on the eve of a Black revolution, brothers.
Now we have voices within the community that we're not going to continue to turn the other cheek.
We want Black power. We want Black power.
The Second Amendment guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
We're going to carry our guns and we're going to follow the police. We're going to maintain a legal distance, ready to throw down if necessary.
Anyone who would approve of this kind of demonstration must be out of their mind.
Go get yourself.
that's what I need.
These racist Gestapo pigs have to stop brutalizing our community or we're going to drive them out.
The majority of the rank and file are women.
We tried to change some of the clear gender roles. Women had guns and men cooked breakfast for children.
The way we walked and talked and dressed, we were a phenomenon.
The Black Panthers really understood the media. They used us to their advantage.
Chairman of the Black Panther Party, and here he is. They tapped the phones. The phone is probably hooked up to the White House.
You read the Black Panther Party newspaper?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because I'm black and I'm proud.
The FBI wanted to destroy the Panthers.
How about justice? Justice is incidental to law and order.
This was all-out attack on the Black Panther Party. Every significant office is going to be raided, bombed, shot, mass arrests.
They were coming to kill us.
When the 15-minute gun battle was over, 2 Black Panthers were dead.
This was obviously a political assassination.
It was like a slaughterhouse.
We were doing fundraisers at places like Jane Fonda's townhouse so that we could raise money for the Legal Defense Fund.
There were 156 not guilty verdicts. It's astonishing.
We don't hate nobody because of their color. We hate oppression.
We refer to ourselves as the Vanguard. We wanted the entire community to follow.
I feel free. I feel absolutely free. You understand? That's what I feel.
Just great. And the full title is Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. Talk to us about making that. As Kathleen Cleaver's picture went by, her soundbite, I saw her recently. People still place her back in that radical, wild Black Panther time, and she's a law professor at Yale University. Just wonderful talking with her.
Yeah, it was just really a thrill to make the film and exciting for me. I grew up in New York City. I was 15 at the time the Panthers came into being. I was like their target audience, and so one of the things I felt was that how the Panthers had come down to be known in history today was not the Panthers that we knew back then. It was something very different, and so I wanted to try to portray that. One of the great things about my job is that I get to call up people and sit down and talk to people and meet people, that I've kind of always wanted to meet and talk to. Kathleen became a really good friend of ours because she, went to a bunch of screenings and she and I did panels and stuff together. So that's just one of the real perks of the job.
I know. When I tell someone, I sat next to Kathleen Cleaver and talked with her, and you wouldn't believe, and the person said, well, what did you talk about? And I said, our grandchildren.
Right.
It's like, lo these many years. You also did a wonderful film about the Black press.
Yeah.
And talk to us a little bit about that, because, if you ever want to know anything about Black history, just go to Stanley's film. He's covered it all.
Right? That's why I just want to give a plug for the Black Panthers, which is on Netflix, so you can see it easily.
Oh, great.
It's simple
Excellent.
to see. I did a film on the Black press, which was, it came out of 2 things. One was that I had done a film on Madam Walker, and I found myself looking at Black newspapers and wondering about them. And my mother, who was a librarian, she was actually a librarian at City College, for years and years and years.
Right.
And my mother was a librarian, kept saying to me, you should do a film about the Black newspapers. You should do a film about Black newspapers. And so, we did this film on the Black press. One of the most amazing things is, as I was traveling around with the HBCU film, Tell Them We Are Rising, and went to college after college, and the professors would come up and say, I'm still using your film. I'm still using Soldiers Without Swords. And and that feels really great as a filmmaker to find that people are still using your film, because it's the only film on Black newspapers, which were another of the main institutions that we had, as Black America. It was one of the things that tied African Americans together. If you wanted to know what stores you could shop in and not be harassed. Well, if they were advertising in the Black newspaper, they were courting Black business.
Right.
They reported on the Black baseball leagues, Black sports figures. They had Black social columns, society columns. So all of these things were what the black press did and what tied, black communities together. And there were black newspapers in every city across the country. And they were very different from the papers that we know now. They were very
were the
different.
days, right?
Yeah, they were very different.
The shrinkage of all of that is...
Well, the shrinkage of all the press has
Exactly.
happened, and black press has been hit really hard.
Yeah, but there are just a few of the children of the or grandchildren of the founders of those that are still attempting in some digital way, mostly, to keep that tradition alive. Now, we did a documentary special here on the opening of the new African American Museum in Washington, D.C., and we came across this incredible video that you did and displayed it on the exterior of the museum.
Right.
I mean, we looked at that and we said, how in the world did you do that?
Right. It's a special thing that people are doing now. It's like it's specific to the site. So it was a huge technical thing with these huge scaffolding with 3 projectors projecting on the side, and
I know as we were watching it, we said, wouldn't you love to be there to see how in the world?
It was just amazing. It actually took 24 hours to set up because they could only set it up at night. So they had to get there the night before, they had to get there the day before and set up all the scaffolding, and then at night, the whole night before, make sure it worked, because in the day you can't see it. So it was just an incredible thing to be a part of.
Well, we were happy to use it too. I hope we don't owe you money for it.
You do, but we can talk about that later.
It was like, just too good to pass up, but as is so much of your work. And you now are training other filmmakers, which is so important. And I mean, in all of the technical aspects and that key aspect of how to raise money too, because all of this making of movies costs a great deal of money.
It does. We have something we call the documentary lab. So it's Firelight Media, which is our company. We have a documentary lab. And we have between 15 and 20 filmmakers of color at any time in the lab, and we work with them to get their films made out and on the air. We've had incredible success. So in 2017, we worked on a film called Who Streets, which was the opening night film at Sundance. One of the people who went through our program, Pete Nix, had made a film called The Force, and he won Best Director at Sundance for that film. And we have more and more films coming out. And we just have great filmmakers, and we try to provide them mentorship, to get their films made and get in the industry. As we say, to buy your groceries and pay your rent from making documentary films.
Which is a wild notion.
It can happen.
And you're doing it. But I want to tell our audience that you're looking and listening to MacArthur Genius, won that award, and again for your training programs, recognized for that. Right. I told you, I don't know too many people who have won Lifetime Emmy and Peabody Awards. I mean,
I didn't even know there was such a thing until they called me.
And you're such a young guy, too.
Yeah, right, okay. Thank you for that.
And President Obama gave you the Humanities Medal. Talk about that.
I mean, that was just a real incredible thrill, So I got the National Humanities Medal, and to get it from Obama,
sure,
and to be in the Obama White House, and it's just wonderful. And one of the things they did was they make it like this great day. So maybe 8 or 9 other people get the award when you get it. When I got it, and you go there, and they give you the whole day, and they say bring anybody you want, bring your family, so you bring all your family. And you go there like an hour or 2 early, and then afterwards they have a whole program with the Marine Band playing and food. And you just hang out in the White House. And one of the things I thought was incredible is I never knew this, but the Marine Band is incredible because it must be like the best musicians in the Marines, and so they could do anything. I mean, they're playing Duke Ellington, Kendrick Lamar, anything. They could play anything. It was amazing.
Right. I'm beginning to feel that this band thing is a huge missing piece in my life. I have to think about that. But the women in your life are you mentioned you could bring anybody you wanted to the White House. So Marcia, is a partner in your filmmaking. Marcia Smith. She wrote the new...
yeah, she wrote Tell Them We Are Rising, and she
right.
pretty much has written pretty much all of our films. She runs the company.
Right, right. You're a lucky guy.
Yeah, she's the brains of the outfit, you know, and the visionary. I mean, she kind of has this big vision, and you know, I'm like, I just want to make some films. So
I know.
But she has this big vision, so it's great.
And you guys are doing great. And Jill Nelson, of course, the journalist and book.
Jill's my sister, my younger sister, the
kid sister, right?
Yeah, she's a kid. Well, we're exactly a year apart almost.
A
year and a week. So,
but it was counting, right?
So yeah, so we've always been very close.
Great, great. Well, you're coming from a terrific family, and you've added so much to our information pool about Black America. We always ask our guests to finish the interview by finishing the statement, "The power and the strength of Black America lies in." What would you say for you that is?
I would say it's youth. I would say it's youth. I would say young people. You know, I think that they're very, very important. I mean, one of the things I've been traveling around with Tell Them We Are Rising, and I'm thinking about young African Americans. And you know, one of the things that I say over and over again is, you know, change always comes from the young. You know, there's never been an old folks revolution in the history of the world.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. If you can tell me which one, I would. But you know, it comes from youth, and I think it's really important that it continue to come from our youth.
And you see that promise in the Black colleges.
I do. I mean, I do. You know, and the film ends with the section we call Today, and one of the women it talks about being part of the Dream Defenders and Black Lives Matter, and just, you know, being part of the movement today, as she puts it. You know, I think it's really important that young people take that safe intellectual space that Black colleges provide and run with it, you know, and change the world that they have to live in. You know, if you're 20 years old, you may have 60, 80 more years in this world, so you better try to make it the world that you want.
Great. Well, Stanley Nelson, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Just one more plug. February 19th on PBS.
I was going to say
well, you can say it again. You can say it 50 more times. I'm going to shut up and let you say it. Thank you for having me.
No. But again, PBS, February 19th. Be sure to watch Tell Them We Are Rising, the story of Black colleges and universities. Do not miss it. And thanks to you out there for joining us in this conversation today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we'll see you the next time.